Welcome. First off, a thank you for those of you that have taken up the offer for the 3-card tarot card reading, which I feel has been quite a success. It may come to the point that I may have to move to doing bookings for such things. We shall see. Just depends how the time goes. The one thing that is finite, that you are hopefully in control of how you spend it. So I thought I'd talk about the tarot and give you a perspective and how it can be very useful. What is the tarot? What is its purpose? What is it for? I suppose they're the questions. Where did it come from is another one. That is revealed in the etymology of the word itself. We'll come on to that in a little while. The answer actually is closer than at hand. I'll come on to that as well as we go. So let's look at tarot. What does it consist of? It's 78 cards, 22 major arcana cards and 56 minor cards. Whereas with playing cards you have 52, you have 13 in each suit. You actually have 14. In playing cards you have the Jack, Queen and King, what are known as the royal cards. The equivalent in tarot in the minor arcana would be the page, the knight, the queen and the king. So the Jack in the playing cards is really a merged page and knight. So you've got 78 cards. So 7 and 8 is 15, which reduces down to 6. So I'd say that's referencing the mind's eye in the chakra system. The 22 major cards, that's going to give you the number 4. As I've said many times on videos, number 4 is a door. That leaves the 56. And as I've also said, the number 4 and the number 11. And the difference between the two, the 7, is highly significant. So the 56 of the minor arcana can reduce down to 11, can reduce down to 2. Sorry, the sum of 56, the 5 and the 6 is 11, which reduces down to 2. So what you have with the 78 cards, you have a sequence of 6. The 22 major give you a 4. And the 56 minor give you a reduction down to 2. So you've got 6, 4 and 2 that come out of this. The 22 major arcana cards are usually numbered between 0 and 21. The card 0 is the Fool, which in playing cards would be the Joker. Incidentally, the Joker in playing cards outranks all the kings. That is reflected that it comes from the major arcana, not from one of the 4 suits. Where do we wish to go with this now? Little bit of gematria. So tarot in Hebrew it comes out as 331. In English it comes out as 444. And in simple gematria it comes out as 74. If we take tarot cards and apply the gematria, in Hebrew it's 509. In English gematria it's 714. Notice that reference to the 1, 4 and 7, the 714 is coming up in this. And interestingly, in simple gematria it is 119, 11, 9. Now I took this a step further. Now if we were to type in the phrase tarot card reading we get 565 in Hebrew. Straight away, I think of the sequence of the building blocks of DNA is 10, 5, 6, 5. So you have the 565 expressed in the Hebrew. In English it is 948, and in simple it comes out as 158. So what are we to make of the tarot? You've got basically the major arcana and 4 minor arcana suits, should we say. So you've got a 5 and a 4. Now can we look outside? Certainly you can see 4 seasons. But what about when we turn this internally? Using what Rudolf Steiner has explained, you consist of 4 bodies. The physical, the etheric, the astral, and the I organization. There's your 4. You have 5 senses, 5 external senses. So what this really is, this is associated with, obviously tarot is very much associated with astrology. You have reference in a way to Jupiter, which is about expansion. This is about turning this inward. So the 4 finds that 5th sense, or in this case the 6th sense. So also with the 4 bodies, you've also got the 4, what would be called the royalty of each suit, the page, the knight, the queen, and the king. You have the 4 suits, the swords, the pentacles, the wands, and the cups. Now let's look at the etymology. Actually, before we do that, as I said earlier, the answer is closer than at hand, as it were. So each of these 4 suits, the cups, the pentacles, the wands, and the swords, come to 14. Now if we turn to the physical body, and you look at your hand, you've got 3 sections, 3 separate bones in each of the 4 fingers. So 4, 8, 12, 16. Sorry, I've got that wrong. Let's start again. It's it's 3. So I don't know why I've got 4s on the brain. So the fingers consist of 3 bones. They are called phalanges. There are actually, because you've got 2 in the thumb, there's a 14. So is it coincidence that there are 14 cards in each of these suits of wands, cups, pentacles, and swords? And of course, you have 2 hands. So 14 and 14 is 28. That's half of the 56 in the minor arcana. I can't help but also seeing in the major arcana the 22. How many of you see the 1111 reference when you bring 2 together, like fire and water, air and earth? You're making the 1111 into a 22. 2 2s. 2 1 1 1 and 1 makes 2. So it's interesting also, the thumb only has 2 of these phalanges. Now if we turn to the etymology, as I've said many times, the capital T is a representation of you, the I, the one, the singular, but you're at your highest level, which gives you the symbol of the capital letter T. That is followed by the A, which is the alpha. But we're in a realm which is reflection. So if we reverse the T and the A, we get at. Where you're at is what you attract, as Lana A. Labonte will often say, which is very true. So it's at something. So what is left in tarot? Notice it's a silent T on the end as well. It comes, in German it means red. Where else did I put on my notes? Sorry, I've got little notes all over the place here. I don't think I wrote this down. But tarot, it's alluding to the French word rouge or roux as well. Basically what the tarot in the etymology is, or the way I interpret it, is suggesting it's your higher self looking down upon yourself, as it were, to the root, the red chakra. Now you need to ask yourself, why do you listen to tarot card readings? What draws you to listen to a tarot card reading? Do you listen to them regularly, or is it just something that it may come up on your homepage on YouTube and you feel drawn to go and have a look at it? Well, there's an inner voice that is saying to look at these things, but we need to think about tarot in the sense of the astrology, that they are general readings. So they are going to be an umbrella for rather a large number of people. And as Paul of Dove and Serpent Tarot will say, go beyond the details that he will provide. It is about internalizing the message of the interpreter of the reading that is going to come into play. Some parts will resonate in a reading, other parts may not. So if we think of the tarot as well, you've got your 4 bodies. Now the 5th body, you could say, is the major arcana. So it's a dialogue that's going between your higher self and your lower self. Effectively, what you're doing, you are holding counsel. You're acting like a king. You are letting it come to you. And I wouldn't use tarot in the sense of prediction, but more as a confirmation of the given moment. You're holding counsel. The information is coming to you with suggestions and showing you how things are in that moment. So hence, at row, it's at the red, it's about getting to the root, seeing inside, re-evaluating yourself, your circumstances, your situation. It is purely advice. But ideally, go beyond the general readings and have a more one-to-one reading. It's going to be far more accurate and tailored to you. How do these cards actually work? This is another question that I'm sure many of you have pondered. How can some of the readings seem to be so accurate, almost to they're like a personal reading at times? I've experienced this myself. If you watch some of the tarot card channels, some of the readers, when they shuffle, the cards will seem to fly out. They're only bits of card with illustrations on them. But it's what is contained in the illustration or the artwork. That biblical quote, "Our Father who art in heaven," well, it's said too fast. There's no pause in it. It's actually a question and an answer. Our Father who art in heaven. Art is creation. What you have happening between the tarot card reader and the cards, the energy of the art, the creator of the art that has put that energy into that illustration on that particular tarot card, is in a dialogue with the reader. There is some sort of electrical energy that is working in the unseen, and those cards can just fly out. It is most likely an interaction between the electrical senses of the reader, who is open to this kind of channeling, and hence it causes like a bit like two magnets with opposing polarity, as it were. So this is why the cards will seem to jump out. That's what I'm seeing in it, at least anyway. Hopefully it will at least give you a new perspective and a new way to look at these things. But what can we actually gain, leaving aside all the sort of populist view of fortune telling? Ignore all that. Let's look at this in a different way. We'll go with the idea that something inside you felt drawn to listen to a particular tarot card reading. As much as anything else, while you are listening to the reading, observe your own thoughts. Because what will invariably happen, as you're listening to the reading, and what comes out of that reading, your mind will now start creating stories to try and fit surroundings, associates, people you may know, circumstances, to fit that reading. But does it come true? Here's the real key part. And this we can turn back to, I believe it's in the Gospel of Matthew. I have an idea, it's in chapter 5, where the woman rushes through the crowd and touches the clothing of Jesus, and she says, "You've saved me." And you'll notice throughout the New Testament, whenever Jesus is given thanks, he will more often than not rebuke the person and say to them, "Get out of here, I haven't done anything. Ye of yourself by your own faith, by your own belief, because you have imported a feeling." Now this is where tarot card readings can really come into their own. Because if you are wishing to manifest something, if you have a positive reading, I would suggest when you hear those really positive bits that resonate, just rewind it, play it over again, and play it over again, at least 3 times. It wouldn't hurt to do it 10 times. What you're doing, you're impressing upon yourself, into your subconscious, confirmation, which is basically your higher self channeling through a channeler or a reader, which is giving you information for your lower self in this reality. So you can draw upon that. You can also use a tarot card reading for brain training to observe where your mind starts going and the stories it's creating. Oh, the reader said this, it must mean that person, it must mean this is going to happen, and we're back down that sort of creative thought route of the conscious mind. We're playing the part of Hansel. We're going outside to problem solve, when you don't need to do that at all. You've already done the Hansel part that you need to do, playing the part of the divine masculine, by pressing the play button, by selecting to watch that. Now give it over to the Gretel side, the divine feminine. This is why, if you come to me for a 3-card tarot card reading, you may be totally unfamiliar with the tarot cards, because I use the Shining Woman tarot deck, because this is coming from your subconscious side, which is then channeling. If it was through me, it would be channeling through me to then give you a message. So you're sort of putting an intermediary, in a way, between your higher self and your lower self to help explain a message, some advice, some counselling, and of course you still have the free will as to how you act upon the information giving. But of course it requires weighing it up inside to get the real answers. Go beyond the details that are provided, as Paul of Dove and Serpent Tarot will tell you. But I thought it's tarot guide book by Rachel Pollock. I generally don't use the book when I do tarot card readings. I go by the art and what I feel and what I see. But what is interesting, and I'll just read this bit from this introduction of this book. No one knows the tarot's origins. We do not even know the origin of the word. Well, I've given you a suggestion from the breakdown of the etymology of that. The first known deck appeared in the mid-15th century in Italy. The earlier decks come to us complete with the same structure and names for the cards of later versions, suggesting some earlier process of evolution. The tarot's earliest known origin is as the game tarocchi, an ancestor of bridge. As far as history tells us, it remained a game for several centuries and was used occasionally by fortune tellers. And a little bit further in this introduction, it says, in 1781, a French scholar and occultist named Anthony Count de Gebelin, I think that's pronounced, made a startling claim. He wrote that he had discovered the Book of Thoth, a legendary work of universal knowledge created by the Egyptian god Thoth for his magician disciples. This book did not lie hidden in some secret cave, but existed in plain view as the game of les tarots, the French name for tarocchi. Since that moment, esoteric writers have expanded on Count de Gebelin's suggestion. People have linked the tarot to Egyptian initiation rituals, matriarchal underground teachings, Christian heresies, Tantra, which is Indian esotericism, Chaldean astrology, and especially the vastly complex system of Jewish mysticism and magic known as Kabbalah. Well, I wouldn't even worry about the origins of where this come from. To me, the tarot cards are about being in the now. What I did notice in what I've just read, people have linked the tarot card with the matriarchal underground. I would suggest that is referring to your subconscious. So I wouldn't use tarot card readings for fortune telling, but I would use it as a way of holding counsel. Notice also in that passage I just read, where was it? See if I can find it again. Yes, the god Thoth for his magician disciples. Well, disciples, the number associated with disciples is 12. Well, that's your 12 cranial nerves. So that's the circle around you. They're all your thoughts, your emotions, your feelings that are coming up continuously when you get a feeling if you don't like something or you feel joy or happiness at something. It's one of those 12 is expressing. You're sitting in the middle. It's about acting as a king by asking. As king is asking. The quest ion is the question. So you are asking a question of this council, of these cards, regardless of what layout a reader will use. They will use their intuition and use what is most comfortable for them. I would also like to give a shout out to a number of tarot card channels as well. Again, something Paul of Dove and Serpent Tarot channel has said, please do support the tarot card channels by liking, subscribing, watching them all the way through. Just that alone is helping support those channels, because they are channels on a YouTube channel. something that can very much benefit you, especially if you put into practice this observing your thoughts, really getting to understand what your conscious mind is doing, playing that Hansel part of going outside of yourself, creating stories, trying to get things to fit the information that you are being told. So, to start off with, Paul, Dove and Serpent Tarot. Very well worth listening to. He will bring in his, a lot of them do, they bring in their personal lives and from their own experiences. To me that makes it authentic. They're able to relate to what they're relaying. Another very good channel is Elena on Searchlight Tarot channel. A young star is Sonia of Sonia 333 Tarot. There is also the Majestic Tarot, which will often combine coffee cup readings and runes as well. Julia Paul, quintessentially English lady, very nice and very good readings. Madame Butterfly is another channel I would recommend, and finally Raven Relics Tarot. Now, I'm focusing purely on channels that give tarot card readings, but I could also include Paul's wife from Dove and Serpent Tarot, which is Ula's tea leaf readings. That's another way of basically doing the same thing. You're listening to information, you're taking counsel, you still need to weigh these things up inside yourself. Now, particularly if it is read in English, let's go back to the gematria of the word tarot, 444. Well, you've got a reference to 12 for a start. 4 is also a door. So if we take 3 4s, if we were to add another 4, we would get 16. Well, 1 and 6, so the 6th, the mind's eye and the crown, that makes a 7. That's why it is a divine number. So to sum up, it is a way, it's like everything else in this reality, and I feel it is something, it's so easy to just see a singular perspective. When you hear a saying, use what you've got, use the gifts that you've got. Well, you've got a YouTube channel. You must have a YouTube channel if you're listening to this. Therefore, you have the ability to find a tarot channel, perhaps one of those ones I suggested. Go with whatever feels right for you. If the reader really resonates with you, well, go with that channel. And they do sterling work, so it's a shout out for all tarot channels, but just go with the ones that feel right to you. I've listened to a few, some of them I've not subscribed to, because sometimes I think, hold on, this sounds like a repeat of the same message from a week ago. It sounds too familiar, almost word for word, like they've just recorded it. I'm not going to call out channel names, but go with the feeling. If you feel drawn to that tarot card reader, if you feel drawn to that channel, then that's your intuition talking to you. See, there's an active step in learning to communicate with yourself, your internal dialogue, recognizing what is coming up from feelings rather than what is trying to be overridden with a conscious mind that thinks it knows best, is playing that part of Hansel again. But in that story, it's Gretel that actually figures it out, which represents the subconscious. It is about handing over that 10%. It's called tithing in religions, but the basis of that, of course, it's been literalized into the external world, into a material form, but it's actually giving over that surrender to yourself. So I would thoroughly recommend listening to general readings. Listen to several channels, because you'll get more of a feeling of the general, the flow of things, because you have this external collective reality, But within that, you also have your individual reality. You are an individual universe. The universe is you in verse. So you have this way of communicating with yourself by using what you have available to you and using it in a way that is going to serve you. Is it not about acting like a king? So think about a way a king will act. The king does not go actively seeking, it comes to you. Well, it will certainly come to you through YouTube, and if you start listening to tarot channels, you'll find that the algorithms or whatever of YouTube will recommend more. Seek and ye shall find, but this is where you also have to use your discernment. And this is why I say your real guide is inside yourself. Now, I don't know what other people charge for readings, and they're probably quite extensive readings with many cards. But if you just want a basic interpretation of where you're at this precise moment, well, I offer you the 3-card reading. It is purely intuitive and on feeling. There's nothing more interesting to me than doing a in-the-dark reading where I know nothing of your circumstances. You haven't actually given me a question, and I just simply, while shuffling the cards and cutting the cards, which I don't have a set way of doing, again, I go with what feels right at the time, I will then be able to give you a sort of, well, this is where you are at the moment, and it's beautiful, the feedback that I've been getting for this, and feedback of, oh, that was spot on, and that's amazing. It's like, as much as anything else, it's brain training to pick up on that thought wave, this frequency that is all around us, that we can draw on. And I feel the key part in the tarot cards is in the art. There is certainly an art in being able to read them. There is an art, if you have the gifts, to be able to channel the information. And certainly some of these channels, I feel, are genuine. They are doing exactly what they say they are doing. But regardless of that, it is still your free will that has the ultimate decision. You still play the part of the king and you decide yes or no. Or you may decide to take a completely different path from that, because it may arm you with information of contrasts. So there may be this middle path between the circumstances and the advice for you to find. And of course, the only place you are going to find that ultimately is within inside yourself. But it does not hurt to take in this counselling, as it were, from these cards. Yes, so what I was going to say, I don't know what others charge, but I'm just simply asking for a donation of €5, $5 or £5 sterling via PayPal, or if not, we can probably figure out another way of doing it. And then it's entirely up to you, but don't fall for the trap in the same way of getting to the point, and this is where within psychic fairs and a lot of these tarot card readers, there are a lot of charlatans that are in it for the money. They will love the ones that are going to keep coming back, who are feeling so insecure they can't make a decision without consulting the cards. That's where you start falling down a rabbit hole. That is not what you want to do. So I'd rather have a flow, because it is all about flow, of several of you popping up here and again, just saying, could you do me a reading for this or for that, or could you just do me a reading, and I don't know anything. And that not just helps this channel, but it helps me put food on the table. It is that living at a basic level, but it is all about getting to the root. It is about going to rock bottom. So in the material sense, I'm sort of at the rock bottom, and that is reflected by the almost concrete earth clay when it is dry as this, and it hasn't rained since I think it was May the last time. There's rumours we're meant to be getting rain, but so it's like this reality. Nature is reflecting. It can become an impenetrable wall. The world can seem against you, but there are ways, and this is one way you can get yourself through these things. But it's how you approach the pathway that you take. What are you hoping to gain from the tarot card reading? These are all questions you should really ask yourself before even having a tarot card reading. That's another key point. It always will come back to asking yourself, inside yourself, is this right for me? And then if the feeling confirms that it is right, and you do decide to listen either to a YouTube channel reading for an astrological sign, or if you approach an individual reader for an individual one-to-one reading. Again, go with what your inner voice is telling you. You're also strengthening that communication, that dialogue within yourself as well. So links if you feel drawn to have a 3-card reading, but it's effectively it's a 4-card reading because you're just a card. How often in this reality, in the material, it's like, let me introduce myself, I present my card. But it's an unseen card, because it's all happening in the unseen, because it's all happening inside you. What you do with that information, where you go with it, whether you allow it to influence, whether you think it is wise counsel or you dismiss it, it doesn't interfere with your free will. You are still king. You are still the sovereign being. This is sort of, as much as anything else, this is leading to that recognition, when you find that dialogue inside yourself, that you are an immortal soul. You are not the physical body. You are not subject to this finite experience. It is just an experience that the immortal soul, the true you inside, is going to take away from this. Whether you wish to come round and play again, well, that's a beautiful thing that I may talk about on another video very soon. So I hope that has helped give you a perspective and understanding of tarot, what it's all about. Why do we listen to things? Obviously it's curiosity, but remember, it's something inside you that is, otherwise why else would you feel drawn to listen to a reading in the first place? So I hope that's given you a broad overview. I hope that it's given you a perspective. It doesn't matter where it comes from. Ultimately, because it is so associated with art, its creation, its imagination, yes, it may have been interpreted by man, but the real origin of where those spiritual messages come from, well, I would say that's creation, that is imagination, that is the creator. There is an aspect of that within inside you. When it is activated, it will shine and it will become its own star. It is within the pineal gland. But we mustn't also forget the pituitary gland, because we need to be in balance. So this is a message from the major arcana, your higher self, to your minor arcana, your 4 bodies that are in this physical reality. It's a dialogue within yourself which is coming by a slightly different route, through an interpretation, through a different channel rather than the 12. But you still need to weigh it up inside yourselves. That is key with everything. It all comes down to that true sight which is inside you, which is the feeling. Love to you all.